Hi folks, welcome back to the Frontier Western Heritage YouTube channel. I'm Todd Kestner here in Bozeman, Montana, and today we're going to take a look at building our own black powder buckshot loads with paper cases. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got a paper case. It's a Federal paper case. It's a modern case. It's a once fired case that you can pick up at some supply companies online, and it originally had a star crimp, just like the plastic crimps that you're used to on 12-gauge shotgun shells. And it's a 3/4 or 2 3/4 inch case. So I'm going to trim this down. I've got the trim. And if you've watched making paper shotgun shells in the past, you've seen this tool before. But this is from Ballistic Products. It's a case trimmer. And so I've got a shotgun that is from Europe, W.W. Greener, and that one is a 2.5 inch case. And then I've got one that's 2 5/8, which is a little more standard for American shotguns before 1900. Actually, about 1928 or so is when we really went to a standard 2 3/4 inch case. So I've got an 89 Remington that takes a 2 5/8, and so I've got this set up to take 2 5/8, make this case 2 5/8. So I'm going to set that right on here, and it's got a blade in it, and it's got a stopper that I've pre-measured, so I can put that right over. And I'm going to go ahead and trim this, and I'm going to get a nice clean trimmed case that's going to be the right length for a shotgun from the 1800s. There we go. So now I've got a 2 5/8 inch case. Let me do one more. I always got to think about it a little bit. If I go the wrong direction to start out, these paper cases were just made by paper and glue and winding them around a mandrel. And so much like a roll of tape, there's a certain direction you can go, and you can feel the little ridge and almost peel that ridge and unwind the thing if the glue would come loose. And so you got to get started the right direction, or my blade will catch on that little piece at the end. It's the end of the winding, and like I say, much like getting your fingernail up underneath the end of a roll of tape and trying to get some tape off it. So I got to think about which way I'm going here, so I don't dig into that part of the case and end up tearing it and make it uneven. So perfect. So now I've got some cases here that have a length of 2 5/8, and you measure them when they're open and not when they're crimped and closed, because when it opens you want the end of the case to go right onto right up into the forcing cone, right before the forcing cone. So we've got that set, and next step here, I'm gonna de-prime these shotgun primers, put a new primer in there, and we'll load it up with powder after that. So the first part of the operation here is to get the spent primer out of the paper shotgun shell. So do that on these guys. So then once I get the primer out, I'm just going to resize a little bit better, just in case, the base of these guys. Would rather do it and not have to than find out later that I needed to do it. So I'm going to move back over to my shotgun press, put in my primers. If you don't have a shotgun press, you want to load black powder shotgun shells, you sure can, with really with a board with a hole drilled in it, so you can knock the primer out with even a nail, and then push a primer in. You can almost push these in by hand, and they will pop in there, or press them hard against a surface, and so that'll work as well. So now I've got sized and fresh primer in these cases. We're going to move over to the powder measurer and drop in some powder. Alright, so I've got my black powder measure that I've used with in the past, any of the black powder cartridge, either shotgun or rifle pistol videos, and I've got it set for 82 grains, which is 3 drams. There's 27.34 grains in a dram, and so that's what a dram is 27.34 grains. And so it's not a super heavy load, but it's a pretty stout load. 3.5 dram would be like your heavy field loads, and with 9 pellets of buckshot that's going to go in this, I'm going to stick with just 3 drams and kind of see how that goes from here. So I've got it set up at the 82 grains, and I'm going to go ahead and dump it in there. Double check, make sure it's about the height that looks right, nothing hung up in the powder measure. Going to put in a 1/4 inch. All this is a cardboard 1/4 inch cardboard over powder wad, and then I've got a lubed, and I lube these with the same lube I put on black powder bullets when I'm loading bullets, and set them in a pan, and they just suck up the lube. And so I've got a 3/8 inch cushion wad that goes right underneath the pellets, and I'm going to put that down with a little bit of compression. So I've got my compression dice set up here to set that right down on top of that black powder with just a little bit of compression. So now what I've got, I don't know if the camera can pick that up, I've got a case with powder over powder wad, the cushion wad, and I'm going to put in, I'm just going to drop these in, and if I drop them in, these are .330 pellets, which is double-aught buck, and so it makes a little triangle of the 3 pellets laying flat next to each other, and then the 3 pellets on top of that kind of fill in the gap that the other pellets had between them, and kind of sit pretty much opposite them, just one layer up. So now I've got my 9 pellets in here, and that's all I'm going to put in this particular round. You can do 8 or 9. Some folks will put them side by side in 2s. Mine seem to fall down in this case anyway, with layers of 3, and that seems to work quite a bit better. And I've also left a lot of space between the top of the buckshot and actually the top of the case, and I want to get a really good heavy crimp on these, and so that's why I've done that. So I'm going to put an overshot wad, there it is, on top of this. That just helps hold the buckshot in place, particularly in a double barrel shotgun where the recoil from one barrel could jar loose the other ones. I've got a vintage antique round where the crimp is just crimped down on top of the buckshot, and it actually holds the buckshot in there. The difficulty with that, I really wanted to try that. The hard part is I couldn't keep the buckshot in place and put it in my crimper without them all just falling out or falling in kind of in disorder. And so I went ahead and put this overshot wad in that holds them in place while I crimp, and then I can label the top of it as well. So I've got the antique roll crimper. You can buy these online as well. Some of them even fit into the end of a drill. This one happens to be an antique from my buddy that's got an antique store. So I'm going to put this up into this cup, wherein the cup is what makes the roll crimp. This handle gives it some pressure. I'm going to turn that until my brass starts to get up and almost into the ring that holds the case. Make sure I got a nice crimp there. And now I've got a crimped round with nine pellets of buckshot. So let's do one more, and I'm going to run it through the whole process again, and we'll have another round ready to go in no time at all. So I'm back to my powder measure, preset at 82 grains. All right, and that looks right. My over powder wad, my cushion wad. When this thing goes off, this gives the pellets a little bit of cushion so that they don't get misshaped, distorted as they bang into each other. There we go. Just a little bit of compression on the powder. And I've got my 3 pellets that form like a triangle in layer number 1. And I have 3 pellets that'll fall on top of those in a triangle that's kind of like one rotation, 1/4 turn. to the side, and I'll put another 3 on there. Call that good, and then I'm going to put the overshot wad on top. Once you get this thing set up, as you can tell, it moves along pretty good. Again, a lot of room for a crimp. I can get a good strong roll crimp in it. Crimp that up. And I've got another load of paper cartridge. So this is done in a very authentic way, other than the primer. The primers in the 1800s would have been just a regular rifle primer, pistol primer. I'm not sure exactly what each company used. Just a regular primer. It didn't take much to ignite, still doesn't take much to ignite black powder. But the rest of the case, paper and brass, and the way that it's rolled up and waxed and not waterproof, but some water resistance to it, is very much like what they had in the 1800s period. And then the nine rounds of .330 buckshot. So we're going to take these to the range and try them out of a coach gun that's got a 20-inch barrel, open choked, and then we'll also try them out of a double barrel that's got a 30-inch barrel, and those 30-inch barrels are modified choked. And to see what it would be like if you were the shotgun, rode shotgun on a stagecoach, and that position actually was called the shotgun messenger. Back in the time, you had the driver and the shotgun messenger, and the shotgun messenger obviously was there to protect the stagecoach. And so we'll kind of recreate that a little bit out at the range and see really what kind of pattern are we going to get with 9 balls of buckshot out of a 20-inch coach gun versus 9 balls of buckshot coming out of a modified longer barreled gun. So that'd be kind of fun to see. We'll take these things out to the range, we'll give them a try, and we look forward to seeing you there as we mark out some targets and shoot some buckshot into some cardboard and see how they pattern. So thanks for coming, appreciate it. And if you got any questions, obviously just make a comment, hit the thumbs up button if you like the video, and please subscribe and share this with anyone else that may have an interest in black powder firearms and their ammunition from the 1800s. Thanks for coming. All right, so I'm going to start by, you can get a lot of scratchy. And then, oh, this one's got a bad top on it. How's that?
That's good.
And then I'm going to put my over powder wad. And I don't have any cushion wads. Thought I had everything set out. Okay. And then a longer barreled shotgun with about a modified. Okay, we got a little bit of a disaster going on here.